We're back. The time is now.
Newcastle United latest news talk.
With talkSPORT's Jet Cunningham, live weekly on NUFC Talk TV, the voice of the Toon Army.
Shit. Hello. Sorry, a little bit late, so still on a little bit longer this afternoon. Just having a problem with setting up actually. But hello, I can already see a few comments coming in. So who we got joining on? We have Trolls. How you doing? You good? Good to have you too, Nook. Good to have you on as well. Colton, good to have you all on as well. Welcome. And we're going to be dissecting Newcastle's 4-1 defeat to Liverpool at Anfield last night. And already I see a comment from Trulls saying, how out he never learns at all. Subs, no striker, in-game management. We need a new manager with new ideas. So we're going to have to, of course, address what happened. I'm going to defend Eddie Howe for last night. I think he could have made his substitutions earlier. I'm not going to defend that. What I will defend is the fact that his game plan was spot on. And despite the fact that Miley and Botman weren't fixed, I think he would have played the back three again. Newcastle caused Liverpool plenty of problems. And for 40 minutes, it was an excellent performance. Ultimately, individual errors have let us down big time on this one. Ed, hello, welcome. How are you doing? Colton asking, did anyone watch the Royal Rumble? Wrestling is not for me. I've got to be honest. Wrestling is not for me. I'll be fair. So that's where I am with that one. But yeah, look, I mean, and Ed, hello. And yeah, look, 9 wins in 24. I'll have to have a look. I assume that's in the league. Yeah, it'd be in the league. Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it's been a disappointing season. There's no question about it. There hasn't been enough from Newcastle, especially domestically. There's still been some good times in Europe. We are still in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Yes, it's an uphill task coming up on Wednesday night. And we're still in the FA Cup. Yeah, we've got Villa away, which is going to be extremely hard. But again, Villa are a team who are struggling with injuries, like we are in certain positions as well. Like, let's hope Bruno and Joe Linton are back soon enough. But Aidbird saying, I'm still hurting from that last night, sick to the stomach. Yeah, look, I mean, Anfield is a place that Newcastle never, ever do well at. I don't know what it is. We must be cursed. We must be cursed at that ground because that is now 30 visits since our last win at Anfield. And there's a whole generation of Newcastle fans who've never seen the Magpies win at Anfield. And there have been some truly heartbreaking games. I mean, who can ever get over the image of Kevin Keegan slumped over the advertising hoardings during that 4-3? There was another 4-3 as well. And I'm pretty sure most Newcastle fans who are old enough, I'm probably not in that camp, but like they are old enough to remember the fact that when you look, I think most Newcastle fans are old enough to remember that even when we scored the first goal, everyone was like, yeah, this is not over. And also, to even just more recently, just to know that Newcastle away from home this season have scored first in a lot of games and they have thrown it away. Now, I'm seeing a comment from Connor. Welcome, Connor, by the way. Thank you for coming on. House setup worked for 35 minutes, but once Slot and Liverpool worked it out, they dominated the second half. They did dominate the second half, in fairness. I mean, the second half was a bit strange. I thought that we started the first 10 minutes pretty lively in the second half. And if Barnes' shot had gone in, that was initially ruled as offside. Terrible decision. Barnes' shot had gone in at 2-1. Then that would have been a very different game. But look, it didn't, and it is what it is. And there should have been a reaction quicker from the manager in terms of substitutes. But I'm genuinely not. I'm not going to put too much on Eddie Howe for that one. As I say, I think yes, could definitely make the substitutions earlier. But equally, I thought the game plan itself was actually really good. He was actually let down by individual mistakes more than anything. And I don't know. One thing is that he picked Trippier, but the reason he picked Trippier is because Miley wasn't 100%. Now, I don't know if Trippier still would have played. And if he would have played, then that's on the manager as well. Because I loved Kieran Trippier for what he's done for Newcastle, being that first signing to make that move from Atletico Madrid for what, £12 million. So that's where, we would have been 1-0 down. Sorry, Trippier he made that move to Newcastle. And I just think that it's very, very, he's been a brilliant servant for us. And most of the game last night, even in the first half, covering for Trippier. And I thought Langer got through some really good defensive work, actually, to be fair to him. But we want to see him in the attacking third and making runs beyond people. And he couldn't do that because he had to cover for Trippier. And Trippier for the second goal is nowhere to be seen. I don't know where he's gone. So, the individual mistake there for the second goal. Malik Chow had probably one of his worst game, maybe, as a Newcastle player. But it was a bit weird. It was mixed in with some absolutely top moments of defending as well. But ultimately, he's at fault for the second goal. He's at fault for the third goal as well. So, well, he's partly at fault for the second goal. Trippier's at fault for the second goal as well. I just think that sometimes you have got to look at these individual errors. I think that after the game, Howe said it was a good performance, indicated if he meant the whole 90 minutes, which wasn't the case at all. But for 40 minutes, it certainly was a good performance. Now, another thing I definitely want to talk about is our set pieces, because for a team who's so big and have some very, very good crosses of the ball, the set piece delivery was nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. Not even remotely good enough was the set piece delivery last night. I need to actually have a look how many corners we actually had, because I think that'd be interesting. I actually want to know that, how many corners we actually had. Right, let me have a look at this. So Liverpool 4-1 Newcastle. So give me the stats. Give me the stats. Give me a minute. We'll be able to find the stats and then we'll be good to go. But and Ekatike as well. I mean, that guy, honestly, unbelievable. Turned us down twice and then he scored against us 3 times this season. I don't think he's been that good this year for Liverpool, actually. Still been one of the signs of the season. I think that just shows you how bad everyone's been, to be honest, in terms of summer signings. But of course, he scored 3 times against us. Lewis Hall, another top performance from Hall, that has to be said. But so corners. Let's have a look. We got them here. 11 corners. 11 corners. And 11 corners. I mean, got to be better that. Got to be better from 11 corners. Got to be better. There was so many that sailed over everyone to the back post. And I don't think it's that hard to have someone who can deliver a corner and then just get your big men attacking it. I really don't. And Arsenal do it extremely well. And I'm not saying we could get those levels. And actually, weirdly, if you look at set pieces scored, Newcastle are still up there. 4 set pieces scored this season, but it should be more. You can't have 11 corners and not create even a single opportunity from any one of them, especially when set pieces are so big now in the Premier League. So that annoyed me. A lot of free kicks into the box as well that caused not enough problems for Liverpool. So that is something that definitely needs working on. Now, I'm seeing a few comments here, so let me catch up where we're at. Trolls are saying the Prem form is almost as bad as it was under Bruce. I'm going to disagree massively on that. Steve Bruce was one of the worst managers Newcastle have ever had. He got lucky during 2019-20 that we had Martin Dubravka in goal. We were bottom for basically every single statistic against. He made players worse. He deflected all of the time. I'm not. I can't have Howe being compared to Bruce. I'm sorry, I just can't. Like, yeah, you can criticize him, and I'm happy to criticize him as well because things this season have not been what the level we want to be. But I'm not having him being compared to Steve Bruce. I'm sorry, I can't have that. Ekatike, give me like Michael Owen. Yeah, probably. It already feels like it genuinely feels like. Sorry, I genuinely feels like we're going to see some guy who. We're going to see some guy who's just going to consistently score against us, and then of course he give away what he was giving to the fans the scoreline. I quite like that. That's quite funny. But I saw someone saying we should have booed him. Well, no, the away fans have got every right to boo Ekatike. He's turned us down twice. It's like, oh, I get him fired up. He would have been fired up for the game anyway. So I saw that. That was nonsense. Kim Cam, hello. Welcome. Nice to have you on. Another question from Connor. It's a good one. Is tiredness for Chow the reason for his slight drop-off and concentration? I haven't played 32 games in a row. I'm pretty sure this will be part of it. And fair play to him for having the fitness, by the way, to consistently just keep playing and keep playing. By the end of the season, going about 60 games. It's mental. He only signed last summer. So I think that's probably a fair point from Malik Chow. I think that, like, he had it, as I said, probably his worst game in black and white, and I'm not sure many people would disagree with me on that one. But what we'll say is it's been a wonderful signing, and we can forgive him for having the odd bad game, I think, especially when he's been so good. And look, like, yeah, it definitely is playing a part. It definitely is playing a part. There's no way this is not playing a part in how he's doing. Of course, he's knackered. He's tired. He's mentally tired more so than anything. And I don't think it's been a drop off necessarily in other games. I think most of the time he's been absolutely fine. I don't think he was helped by Dan Burn alongside him. I thought was really poor as well. In both boxes, there was the one where the ball was played over the top at the start of the second half, and Burn just missed it entirely. And Ekatike is in on goal, and he should have scored. And so I don't think he was helped by Burn, but yeah, let's have a look. Colton, same we can say. I sack Howe and nothing will get done. Same in-game management, same everything. No transfers. The transfer thing's mental. I don't understand what that is about. I don't know why Newcastle are not going to sign anyone in the transfer window. It seems a baffling decision, in my opinion, to not decide to sign someone in the transfer window. Like, I've got to be honest that you could argue for a lot of things. I think a lot of people are looking at it and maybe say RPF thinking long term about maybe do they want to give the money to Howe? I don't know. That's just a potential option. Is it because Howe thinks he's got enough? And if that's the case, that's not correct. And I didn't really understand why yesterday when he was asked sort of about the transfers and he said he was sent anyone in. No, there was no then like follow-up questions, I suppose. So that's an interesting one. In-game management, I mean, he did throw on 3 strikers, to be fair to him. Yes, you can argue it's too late, but he did throw on 3 strikers, and we've been asking to see Waldemar and Vista together. He did put them on. Not again, like, and I think there's a fine balance between. I don't know. There's a fine balance between being a happy clapper and then just kind of trying to be objective about it. And I do try and be objective about it. Like, you want to be, because I've criticised Howe plenty this season. I just don't think last night was actually on him necessarily. But look, I get it. Trills has said he's done with Howe. That's fair enough. 2-0. Yeah, the score didn't match the game. Yeah, I thought 4-1. I mean, if no one was going to watch them, everyone was going to watch the game. If you're watching the game, so if you weren't watching the game and you just saw the score, you think Newcastle got absolutely battered. But no, it's not. It's not the case. It's not the case. It's not the case. And saying here, so got a Liverpool fan. Hello, Gavin. Thank you for joining. I'm a Liverpool fan. Unlucky last night, lads. You battered us first off, but Newcastle don't have the players to keep up that tempo. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's an interesting one. This one as well. I think that I feel as if Newcastle got the game plan definitely right, but ultimately, yeah, there wasn't maybe the legs to continue to maybe bring on and keep the energy going. After putting in a lot against PSG, but when Newcastle's game relies on having that energy in the legs, then the squad lacks in a few places. It's still not big enough, and there's some massive injuries. So, and I thought from Liverpool's point of view, I thought that Canate had his best game I've seen in a long time. He was very, very good, and of course it was it was a really nice moment for Canate. Of course, after a horrible situation, both this season and of course losing his father. So yeah, Canate I thought was good for Liverpool. Wirtz and Ekitike have got a brilliant partnership. They look really good. Salah wasn't very good. Gakpo wasn't very good. Liverpool were there to be beaten, in my opinion. But still, I thought there's definitely signs if you're a Liverpool fan that their team's turning around. And with Wirtz and Ekitike, they're always going to create chances. And ultimately, they punished us. Yeah, I've got to ask this one. What's your thoughts on how confirmed there'll be no signs before deadline day? Yeah, I'm baffled. I'm baffled. Genuinely baffled. I don't understand it. I don't know how you can look at Lewis Hall, for example, and think there's some games we're going to need and not. He needs to come off if we're winning. I mean, I know he came off last night in the 80th minute. The game was, of course, over. I don't blame. I think fair enough bringing that on. Yeah, I think fair enough, taking him off then. Absolutely fine. But if he gets injured, Newcastle have Burn at left back, and that will damage us badly in every way, especially with Tino Livramento out as well at the moment. That would damage us really badly. So yeah, that's why I'm at with that. That's why I'm at with that one, Connor. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And the thing with Willock, of course, conflicting reports. My colleague at talkSPORT's saying there was a bid, and then it was said that it was an inquiry. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I'm in the know on anything like that. What we'll say is Ben has his sources and he trusts them. So I don't know. He wouldn't have said there was a bid if he didn't think there was a bid. Equally, Keith Downey, etc., Lee Ryder, Luke Edwards, they all have their sources as well, and they trust them. So I'm not getting involved in that one. But I think with the Willock one, I wouldn't sell him now. What's the point? 20 million, yes, good fee for him. But if that is the case, then I still wouldn't sell him because I thought he's actually played well in the last two games. He played a massive part in the goal last night. The goal doesn't happen without Willock. Simple as that. And then you're in a position whereby you're lacking a midfield. I mean, Bruno is hopefully going to be back soon. Joe Linton's out for a few weeks. Miley's 100% not fit apparently again, so we can't afford to sell that. So I don't get this thing with deadline day. I don't get this. Paul saying if Botman and Miley were not fit, what the hell are they doing on the bench? Poor management. I'll be honest, I think they were on the bench simply because they were probably fit enough to play some minutes if needed. I think that was probably what it was, but it was more of a case of we'll rest them because I think Howe does believe that Newcastle can, despite the record at the Etihad, I think Howe does believe that Newcastle can go at the Etihad and can get an early goal and can win. And I want to believe that as well. And so I won't be surprised if Botman and Miley both start that game, to be fair. So we'll have to see. Eadbird saying not even a loan signing when we clearly need one or two through the door. Totally agree. I totally agree. I absolutely totally agree. I've got no question about it that there needs to be something done to boost the squad here. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Like, we're a whole injury away from Dan Burn at left back, and then you are going to drop a lot of points, and you probably finish in the bottom half of the table. To be honest, we still might finish in the bottom half of the table, to be honest, but still, I don't agree with it. Was Bruno on the bench? I thought Bruno missed out, to be fair. I'll have a double check. I'm pretty sure Bruno wasn't even put on the bench in the end. Probably with the idea of looking ahead to making sure that he can play on Wednesday, I assume, and the game's coming up. Let me have a look. If it was on the bench, I got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the bench. No, he wasn't on the bench. No. Yeah, didn't think so. Yeah, so that's all good with that one. Mark Wagstaff who's the set piece coach, Steve Bruce. Yeah, as I say, like we've actually still scored we're in the top. We were in the top 5 a couple of weeks ago for set pieces scored this season, but I just think it should be more. And I think 11 corners. It's got to be better. It's got to be better. It's got with the players we have, the size of the players we have. It's got to be better. Definitely, I totally agree. Gavin saying, I honestly think this is a Liverpool fan. Gavin, Brendan Rodgers for those Liverpool fans, taking us as far as he possibly can. You know what, Gavin? It remains to be seen. We can clearly see from the comments here, and the sentiment is certainly changing on Eddie Howe. And I think that he might have done, but it's ultimately down to what the board think is acceptable. I don't. Unfortunately, I don't get St James's Park much these days. It's impossible to get a ticket after I binned off my season ticket when Rafa Benitez got sacked, because I thought, well, okay, that's the end of the hope from the club. Look, I didn't know it was going to happen, of course, but ultimately, it's what it is. And then I've moved to London now. So Gavin's point is interesting about Brendan Rodgers. Did a really good job at Liverpool. And then it only went as far as it did. Are we at that point with Eddie Howe? I don't know. I can clearly see from the sentiment here that some people think we are, but ultimately it's down to what PAF decide and what David Hopkinson, Ross Wilson, etc. decide as well. Do they think that, or are they going to say that because of the Isak situation, losing him when you build your entire team around him, basically, are they going to accept it as a transitional season? I don't know. When you're talking about 2030, Newcastle being one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's only 4 years away. I'm not sure you can afford can't really afford any off seasons really, but it's an interesting point. So we got a few more people saying about that. Toon Nuts saying, I feel sorry for Eddie. If the Premier wasn't fixed and we could buy players, they would have a different story. When Lisbon Target scored 2 passes yesterday. What I'll say about that is, unfortunately, Newcastle were in a good PSR position last summer, went for big players, and ultimately they went for someone else. They joined someone else. Like Ekitike decided he joined Liverpool. As soon as Liverpool came in, he was keen to join Newcastle at that point, but ultimately Liverpool were the Premier League champions and are a bigger club. Now, the rules have, of course, limited Newcastle. There's no way about it. But what David Hopkinson said specifically in an interview recently is he said, it's my job to grow the revenues, because he understands that if you grow the revenues, then you will actually get more money. So I think that's where it's going to be. I think we're going to see 2026. We're going to hopefully see a new training ground announced, and we're hopefully going to see some new revenue streams. Looks like there's going to be a new front of shirt sponsor, which is interesting. We'll see who that is, but that's where I'm at with that one. I think that's fair. Trill's pointing out it's a mid-table Premier League record. Like, Newcastle have not been good enough in the Premier League. Equally, the Premier League's floor, so the worst teams in the Premier League are now much better than they used to be, and the ceiling of the Premier League's come down. So you've got a lot of teams who are very, very similar in the way that they are. So we're a mid-table team, and we're very close to being. I think we are very close to being a top team. There's a few things missing, and ultimately, it's down to the club to sort those out. And if Howe is the man that they want if Howe's the man they think it should be, then they have to give him the backing that he needs to build the squad. If not, then we rip up the squad and start again in the summer. So we'll have to see what happens. Colton St. Pierre for a joke. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're a joke. I think they have other projects, and Newcastle's not their priority. And the reason Newcastle's not their priority is because they can't spend exactly what they'd like to make it as good as they want it to be. Equally, that doesn't mean that they're not interested. It's just that they have other things. I mean, they're worth trillions of pounds. So this is a massive organization. It's essentially the Saudi government, isn't it? So they have other irons in the fire, and I just don't think they're a joke. I just think that they have other priorities, and ultimately, those priorities take precedence over Newcastle. They've still appointed some great people at the club. David Hopkinson is clearly a top-class CEO. He's already made some big changes. Ross Wilson's a very, very highly thought of sporting director. And we're going to see what they do in the summer. So, yeah, that's good. Alexander saying Liverpool slapped us up. I don't think they slapped us up, to be fair, but fair enough. And Annie, welcome, by the way. They won't give him any money because his goal is Europe already out. Yeah, like, it could be. It could be. And if it was, then... yeah, then we'll see a change in the summer, won't we? So, like that's what we're saying. But then I'm also equally saying is, if you got him that signing in January, would he then be able to get Europe? It's such a fine balance. That's why it's such a big debate. So, Trills is saying if this manager was in English, to be more common as he'd. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that there's one thing I'll say is people who maybe do get a go to more games. Can you please let me know what the sentiment is of how in St James's Park? Because from what I can tell, it seems like the crowd is still massively on his side. I think until maybe you see a turn in St James's Park, then maybe it'll be different. But that's just what I see. Kim Cam saying, my understanding of football is that you invest in your team when it's doing well to keep improving, not when everything's already falling apart, but apparently we do the opposite. Yeah, I think Newcastle have had overall, a lot of the signings we've made have been very good. I think the last summer is the only window at the moment where you look at it and go, a lot of the signings aren't really delivering as of yet. And I think that the one window where they didn't really do anything, which then was saved in the second half of last season, was last summer, whereby we signed Willie Masula, Lewis Hall on a permanent, Vlachodimos, and that was about it. So that was a poor transfer window, that one. And that does where it feels like they haven't invested properly in that sense. So, yeah, look, I think in the summer, no matter what happens, there'll be a big overhaul in the squad. I think there has to be if Newcastle are going to be this 2030 thing. So, and you can't say it to people, yeah, 2030 we're going to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, and then not make the actions by giving a new contract to Trippier or something like that. So that's what I think will happen in the summer. I'm not making it clear. I don't know. I just think that if Newcastle are going to be the club that they keep telling us they want to be, then I think in the summer there'll be a big overhaul, no matter who the manager is. So sounds good. 50 shots and scored one. Lewis Hall got cooked last night. Don't know what game you were watching, because he did not get cooked. Lewis Hall, once again, one of Newcastle's best players. I think Mohamed Salah beat him through for one-on-one, but that was more just the defence was out of position, and then Hall tried to catch up with him. He didn't quite get there. He actually just about put Salah off, to be fair. So Lewis Hall had Salah all over. I don't know what game. I'm sorry, Alexander. I don't know what game you were watching, because that was not the same match I was watching. Because Lewis Hall was, again, one of our best players. He was gliding through players, putting an unbelievable cross in the first half where Dan Burn gets in front of Van Dijk. He probably scores, but he didn't. No, I disagree on that one. I do not think Lewis Hall got got smoked at all, and he got hooked. He got taken off in the 80th minute because the game was essentially done, and Howe wanted to give him a little bit of a rest. So no, he didn't get cooked. Yeah, so first 40 minutes. Connor asking, did we put too much effort in the first 35 minutes instead of pacing the game and got gassed out by half time? I don't know. I don't actually think so. I think what happened is that if you like again, it's if buts and maybes, and I don't really like doing it, but I think if the first goal is a brilliant goal from Liverpool, we did lose it in midfield, I believe, in the build up. If it goes in at 1-1 at half time, I don't know. I think that. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I don't think so. I just thought it was terrible individual errors in the second goal. We've just had a corner cleared, and then Tonali's put the cross back in and it's gone out for a goal kick. Alisson takes it quickly into Milos Kerkez, and he just plays a ball down the left to take a TK, and Trippier's nowhere to be seen. And then Chow tries to come across, do the thing where I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to do side pressure defending. So essentially, what you're telling Ekatike is, I don't believe you can score on the outside, but I'm not gonna let you cut inside on your right foot and get a shot away. And then Ekatike with the outside of his right boot finds the bottom corner. You could argue Nick Pope can maybe do a little bit better, but I'm not gonna blame Pope for that one. I will blame Pope for the fourth goal, though. I know what he was doing there, but still. And Claire, afternoon. Hello, how are you doing? Alexander saying, what's the point of Voldemort and Visser? Look, but this is a fair point, but equally, right, did it not work? Did it not work? Did Gordon up front not work? Gordon up front doesn't usually work, but that was one of Gordon's best games up front. Thought he was excellent. Really good. Movement was quality. Pressing was good. Scored a good goal. Ended his open play goal drought. He played really well. He was good in the second half as well. A decent shot from outside the box. So the game plan worked. Walter and Visser then came on. Visser was non-existent. I thought Walter was decent. Some nice little interplay and link up from him. So, but I understand that you spend a lot of money on two strikers and you don't start either of them. But but Gordon scored a goal as a striker, and I don't know what else he could have done really. So yeah, that's fair enough. Scott, hello Scott, nice to have you on. Do not bring in defenders when Clay Trippier, but yeah, look, I totally agree. I'd rather have. I don't know what's happening with Kraft. I don't know what that injury is, but he's been out for ages. But I'd rather have Kraft start over than Trippier. Not because I think Kraft's a better player than Trippier. He isn't. What Kraft does have that Trippier doesn't is legs. Kraft can still get up and down the pitch and cover. Trippier can't. And his set piece delivery is poor. It's poor. It needs to be better. For a player who's that good at technique, how many just went straight into the goalkeeper's hands or out of play? It's got to be better. So yeah. Yeah, we're knackered. How can we play one match a week? Look, I get this criticism because I think that. Yeah, I get this criticism because I think that what a lot of people say is that Eddie Howe is one of the best like week-to-week managers because everything is so meticulous and so planned. And if you go back to the first semi-final against Manchester City, where Dan Burn was in the Sky Sports studio, he said throughout that basically that Newcastle have patterns of play and he knows exactly where the ball's going to be. Yeah, he knows exactly where the ball's going to be about 3 passes beforehand because it's all so well drilled. So it's difficult for maybe new players to come into that and fit into it and stuff. So I do understand this criticism if you think about 23-24, whereby Newcastle we beat Manchester at 1-0 in December, and at that point we were 5th, so we were managing the Champions League pretty well, and also the Carabao Cup, and everything was going pretty well, and then all the injuries hit, and we ended up losing quite a few games, and we lost at Luton and stuff, and in the end we finished 7th. It was actually a really strong end of the season 1, so we were out of all the competition, so I appreciate that point. How is Lucian saying Burners play well at left back because he did that? Should be a huge red flag. But let's just brush that aside. Just say, I'm not going to brush that aside. I think I don't agree at all. I don't agree at all. I think that we're looking at the point of Hall. If we lose him and have to put Burn at left back, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. If we lost to Brentford and West Ham, a majority actually because we had Burn at left back, in my opinion. Because if you go back to those games, Burn gets caught out of position for the Botman own goal against West Ham, and then against Brentford, Dango Ouattara had him all over the whole game, and then he got sent off. So yeah, I no, and then Trippier on the right hand side. It's time. The loyalty to some of the players is starting to cost points, like Trippier. But I do think Trippier played last night purely out of necessity rather than actually would have started. I do think Miley would have started. Given what Howe said before the game about Botman and Miley not being 100%, I think it would have been a back three again, like against PSG. So I do think that's the only reason he played. And ultimately, there's no other real options to play there if Miley isn't fit. Miley's not even a right back. He's just filling in, but he's very good at it. So that's why I'm at with that one. Find a way of keeping going on the team. Striking out, strikes much delivered. Yeah, look, Annie, about Gordon, I have been calling for Gordon to be dropped for quite some time in the Premier League, certainly, because I don't think his performance has been good enough. But we can't argue that he didn't play well. And he played very well. So I thought Gordon had a really good game. And you've got to, if you're going to give out the criticism if you're going to give that criticism for when he's playing badly, you've got to praise him. He did well. He did well. Scored a great goal. Led the line well. It was a good performance from Gordon. I want to see more of it. That's all. I want to see more of it. Yeah. Golf and Geordie. Welcome, Golf and Geordie. Nice to have you on. So, lack of any movement in the training ground, new stadium isn't selling to potential new players. Pay effort detached from the fans, leaving it to Eddie to deal with it. Yeah, look, I think the training ground and stadium has been a bit weird. Like, we need an announcement. Craig Hope did do a piece earlier this month saying that the training ground is going to be announced shortly. So, let's see what happens with that. Hopefully that comes soon. That'll be a big thing. It's going to be £200 million facility, and that shows PAF's commitment. But the new stadium or an expansion of or an expansion of St James's Park or whatever it may be they decide to go for, would like an announcement on that soon. Ultimately, it's going to be 2028 until after 2028 until anything happens anyway, because St James's Park's been selected for the Euros to be a host ground, so that's good. Reluctant Gamer said, what Delude fan thought we would have won. I think going into the game, there was confidence that Newcastle could get something from the game. I certainly thought we'd actually get something from the game. You know, this is a Liverpool team who have dropped points to Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds, which is the first time Premier League champions have done that. I think since Chelsea, maybe it was, to drop points to the promoted teams. So I really thought we could have definitely done something there. Sorry, there's loads of comments to get through. I'm trying to catch up as much as I can. So Reluctant Gamer saying we should throw Wednesday. I don't agree. Colton saying we're a mid-table club. Claire also saying put out a B team. I just don't agree with the holders of the Carabao Cup. We've got to go there and try and win the game. Got to go there and try and win the game. You can't just throw it. You can't throw it at all. All right. Loads of comments. Try and get through them all. Sorry. Magpie Steak Bakes. Hello. Welcome. How you doing? Good. Right. Oh, thank you very much for the super chat, Steak Bakes. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We will get that on the screen now. Brilliant. No, mate, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We have poor forwards. They make no impact at all. As for Big Nick, I feel he's incompatible with our style and formations. It's staring us in the face. So, interesting point. I think that Johan Visser has been, unfortunately, when you spend £55 million on a guy, you need a 29-year-old. Well, he turned 29 as soon as we signed him. You need him to come and hit the ground running, and he has not because he got an injury, unfortunately, which meant after he decided also not to take part in pre-season, he trained but didn't play any pre-season games. So after he decided not to take part in any pre-season games for Brentford, you're in a position whereby ultimately you've got to deliver it when he comes back, and he hasn't. I thought, but his goal scoring record's still okay for the minutes he's played. I just hope that once we see that sharpness back, we see the Visser of Brentford, because he is a good player. Now, Big Nick, starting to feel certainly that he is potentially a bit incompatible with the way we play, and that's down to us and him to adapt slightly to everything. And it's going to be a meeting of the minds, essentially. We need to adapt a little bit to how he plays, what he wants, and I've said this over and over again, is balls into his feet and runners off him. If you can do that, you will see the best of Nick Waltemada. There is no question. Unfortunately, we don't really have anyone who can find him with the balls into his feet, so I suggested on the latest episode of Inside the Tomb, which if you haven't watched already, please head over to the talkSPORT Newcastle YouTube channel and give it a watch, and please feel to disagree with me. But I felt that Adam Wharton would be that sort of midfielder who would be able to find Nick Waltemada with forward passes, and then from there you get players running off him, and maybe a Jacob Ramsey, a Gordon, a Barnes, whatever, making runs in behind the defence, and Waltemada is dropped deep, creating the space. If we can do that, we will see the best of Waltemada. It's as simple as that. He's clearly a top footballer. It's just at the moment, with the way we've kind of asked him to plug in and play as the Isak replacement, it doesn't work like that. So I think this is an absolutely fair point from Magpie Steak Bakes here. And what I'm trying to say is, if we can adapt to how we play. And I know you shouldn't adapt maybe around a one player, but equally, if you're going to spend our club record transfer fee on a player, like we did with Alexander Isak, we built our team around Alexander Isak. We made it so that Alexander Isak scored the majority of our goals. We need to make sure that Waltemada, because I don't think it's going to be necessarily a goal scorer who's going to score loads of goals, but I think he will be involved in lots of goals. So I think if we can get him to be in that position, then it's worth the money. And that's on how to sort out, etc. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. But great point. Thank you very much as well for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Where are you there? So right, we've got this right. Got Real on the realist. You played way to open against superior players will never end well. But who played to open at all, to be honest. I think that it was in the first half, especially, it was low block and counter, and it worked. Yes, we pressed high at moments, but actually it was low block and counter, really. And when we won the ball back in our half, that was exactly how we scored our goal. Ball quickly won back out to Willock. Willock uses his fantastic ability to drive up the pitch, plays it in a Barnes. Alexis McAllister tackle, comes to Gordon. Good finish from Gordon, to be fair. And I think after that, Newcastle had seen it through at half time. It's a very different game. Unfortunately, didn't. And it's if Botamedi was at this point. So, but I think that to have a go at the game plan is entirely wrong. Entirely wrong. The game plan was not wrong. The game plan worked. And it was individual mistakes and then a lack of changing it too early in the second half. So that's on Howe for lack of changing it too early in the second half. I'm not going to blame him too much for playing Byrne and Trippier, because Botman and Miley weren't fully fit. So they have to play. It's just a shame Byrne and Trippier then dropped two terrible performances after being solid players for Newcastle for years. But we're getting to the point now where maybe they're limited in what they can do. So that's what I'm at with that one. So Some points about Isak, not scoring. So, again, saying playing the B team here for playing the B team against Manchester City. We're the holders of the Carabao Cup. It's our trophy. We won it last year. We won it one of the best days of my life. We won it last year. Got to go there and play the full strength team. Got to. Man City are not as good. Yes, I don't think we'll actually win, but you've still got to go there and play the full strength team. Yeah, you have to. I'd be fuming if there's even any slight players being rested or whatever. Like, if they fit, they play. It's as simple as that. We are the holders of this competition, and we should be going there thinking if we get the first goal, it's game on. I know our record of the Etihad is absolutely terrible. I mean, genuinely awful. Like, even before it was called the Etihads, before they were rich, we couldn't win there. But it's got to change at some point, hasn't it? You know, I see some points, obviously, again. Yeah, I get it, of course. You know what I mean? That's what it is, isn't it? So, this Liverpool fan, are you a Liverpool fan, Real on the Real Realist? You're rooting, you wanted us to win. As a Liverpool fan, you wanted your own team to lose to Newcastle. I'm sorry. I am sorry. That is, I don't care if you don't like the manager. You won the Premier League less than a year ago. Less than a year ago, Liverpool won the Premier League. I don't care if you don't like the manager. You never, ever root for your team to lose. That is an absolute joke. Honestly. Joke. Absolute joke. I can't be dealing with that. You do never, ever, ever want your own team to lose. You won the Premier League last season. Yes, Liverpool have not been as good this season. Fair enough. But Florian Wirtz is starting to play well now. Hugo Ekitike is playing well. A lot of the other players have just not done anything. Kanat has been dreadful. And last night was one of his best performances in ages. But you never root against your own team. I can't be having that. So, This had one good season where he scored more than 10 goals. How was he very good? Okay. Let's have a look at this, shall we? Got 19 goals last season, which is top draw, to be fair. This, just give me a minute. 19 goals in 23-24-25, 12 goals in 23-24, 7 goals in 22-23. So steady improvement, and 7 goals in 21-22. So overall, his Premier League record is 46 goals in 147 games. It's like 1 in 3, really. So it's not bad. Certainly not bad. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't a panic buy. It was a massive panic buy. It was a huge panic buy. It totally was, honestly. Yeah. So that's what it is, isn't it? That's what it is. It was a massive panic buy. We need him to deliver straight away. He hasn't, but he's here now. He's with the team. He's with the team. You can't. We've got him for however long we've got him. I do believe you'll find some sharpness again, and I'm sure he'll score some goals between now and the end of the season. But it wasn't worth it. Yeah, it wasn't worth it, and it looked like it was always a panic buy anyway. But ultimately, Newcastle at that point had one striker because Isak was refusing to play, and then Isak was refusing to play, and then equally we had Wilson had left. So yeah, it was a mess at the end of the transfer window. It was, realistically. Like, I thought at the end of it, when I looked at it on paper, I thought, okay, we've come out of it okay. But now, halfway through the season, in February, sorry, because we're on the 1st of February, yeah, it hasn't worked out. It's as simple as that. Yeah, Visser got 19 goals last season. He got 12 goals the season before. Yeah, I understand this from the Liverpool fan here. Real under realistic that Liverpool should have spent the money. Yeah, they shouldn't have started. When they signed Ekatike, there was no reason to actually sign Isak, but ultimately it happened, didn't it? So I don't really know why that happened, but it did happen. What's going on there? Lost the comments. Oh, we'll go on the back. So slot is a waste of space. I don't think slot's a waste of space, to be fair, but whatever. A few Liverpool fans said they don't like Isak. The Barracus. Hello, the Barracus. How are you doing? The happy clappers are in full retreat, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally dawning on them that they know nothing about football and are totally driven by emotional decision-making faith. Interesting. I feel like there's obviously massive divide here, isn't there, between... I think there's nuance to this situation. It's not as clear-cut for me as Eddie's the god and we shouldn't criticise him and everything's the player's fault and not his fault. Equally, I'm not in the situation where everything's Eddie's fault, get him out. So there is nuance to this situation. But the important thing is how fans feel between now and the end of the season. If it all goes wrong in St James's Park and the away ends and they're getting booed off and there's chance for him to leave or what have you, then that's very different. That's not happened yet. And equally, we have the fact that... equally, we got the fact that we... Sorry, I'm just trying to think about where I was going with that. Yeah, equally got the fact that it's up to the board to decide if they're happy to say this season was a mess because of the Isak situation and I guess a poor transfer window. But we also appreciate what you've done since you've actually come in at Newcastle has been consistent, steady improvement in a full season, not finished lower than 7th in the Premier League. So do you then give him another year? But equally, if you're going to be on the biggest club in the world, can you afford an off season? These are all interesting debates. But and you could call me a happy clapper if you want. I'm not a happy clapper, but I think there's nuance to the situation. That's all. And I appreciate there's people in the comments here who are totally Howe out and totally against Eddie, and that is absolutely fine. That is their opinion as well. I just try and judge it by what I see and the previous body of work and stuff. So yeah, that's all. That's all. But I totally appreciate every point. Claire saying, I think I was scouting Visser was watch his goal highlights on YouTube. That's quite funny. Yeah, look, Visser again, go over it time and time again. He so he had a very good season last year. Really good, really sharp, loads of goals, play really well. But what I'll say about him is that we need him to hit the ground running. That injury stopped him hitting the ground running. Also, him deciding not to play preseason games has stopped him from hitting the ground running. So, yeah, I'm not on board. I'm not on board with that. So, but look, it's difficult. It looks like it's an overspend anyway. But yeah, that's fair enough. End of the season, Colton saying, yeah, I mean, I think a few people are feeling like that, to be fair. Wilson went to West Ham. Yeah, exactly. Wilson went to West Ham, yeah. Sadly, what sort of me, some Magpie Steak Big saying, what sort of me was when we shot a goal. Yeah, I've that's one thing I've thought about for Newcastle for about a while, trying to break down low blocks. Just don't really have shots from outside the area for some reason. Like Barnes with that well-worked free kick, that was really unlucky, great shot. And he had another one that was saved as well. And Gordon had a strike from the edge of the area. So it'd be nice to see some shots from... We need to see more of that. Like that's the way you break down low blocks as well. You have shots from the edge of the area. You fire in strikes a goal. You do whatever you can on that one. So yeah, good point from Magpie Steaks there. And then, of course, just reminded everyone here that if you're not liked and subscribed, please do. It's on NTTV, so please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to consider becoming a member, that's £4.99. Some people were refunded initially, so you could come back to that, and you'll be able to sign up and you get all the exclusive content that we've got coming your way on NUFC TV Talk. I love doing these shows. Today's one's a bit spicy, but it's good. As I say, I'm happy to consistently have debates and talk to anyone about football and what is there and what their opinion is of it. So yeah, all good with that one for me. And just a reminder, if anyone's on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that's my handle there at JackCun96. Please do give me a follow. I'm trying to grow as well, but equally I'm trying to put more Newcastle content out there. So please do give me a follow. And equally, if you haven't seen it as of yet, please head over to the talkSPORT Newcastle YouTube channel for Inside the Toon, which is our weekly Newcastle United show dedicated to the Toon by Toon fans. You can agree, you can disagree. It's absolutely fine. But what it is it's Newcastle fans from talkSPORT giving you a 50-minute show every week entirely on Newcastle. It's not something that talkSPORT's ever done before. And it's a sign of the fact that we're trying to really take it seriously with Newcastle. So please do head over to check those things out. Like I say, that'd be great. But no worries at all if not. So, yeah. Right, what else got here? Got the Barrack saying Mbuemo fed Vissa. Yeah, they had a very good link-up play, but I think that what I've seen from Vissa already in the games that we've had is majority of them, apart from last night, maybe, he's had opportunities in the games to score, and his goals have all been goal poachers' goals. So he's got that instinct for goal. I think other parts of his game are lacking, clearly, but he does have a goal instinct for goal. If we can get him the chances, I'm sure I'll put them away. So, yeah. I think there's a few points about Isak here, so we can go for them as well. And Eddie Howe has burrowed himself into recruitment aspect of the business more and more. We ignored Paul Mitchell like the captain of the Titanic ignored ice warnings. Paul Mitchell was absolutely useless at his job. He was hopeless. He was told to... No, Alexander Isak was promised a new contract by Amanda Staveley. Yes, Isak had 3 years left on his deal. Doesn't matter. He should be in the highest earner at the club. He's a world-class striker. He was entirely crucial to the way that we played football. If Paul Mitchell had sorted out a new contract, I genuinely believe you would have got one more season from Isak. One more season. He would be being up front for us this year, playing for us, and then I think in the summer, he would have moved on and he could have had the pick of any club in the world. Real Madrid, Barcelona, whatever. Genuinely. What happened instead is Paul Mitchell said, no, you got 3 years left in your deal. That is what caused a lot of it because Newcastle made a promise, it was broken, and then Liverpool come in. Liverpool still might have come in, but I'll tell you what, they probably wouldn't have come in if Isak had just signed a new deal and he had 6 years left in his deal and he was on over 250 grand a week, which is what he should have been on. So, Paul Mitchell, absolutely hopeless sporting director. Terrible. Genuinely terrible. Like, that summer that we had, he suggested signing to Debo. Look how bad he is. So I'm sorry, I fume at Paul Mitchell. I really do. I just don't think. I think he was useless. Really do. So there's a few people. I'm going to go up there. Colton saying if PF give Howe another year, will be relegated. I mean, I don't think so, Colton. I don't think so. I mean, we're not going to get relegated. I think I appreciate that people think that there's taking backward steps and it's starting to look like it's going backwards from where we want it to be. But we're not going to get relegated. There's not a chance. So yeah. 3 wins and 12 away from home. Yeah, the away form's been horrendous. I'm not defending the away form. I'm not, and that's the thing. That's why I think there's nuance to it. You don't have to just be full on, how in, how out, I don't think that. I don't think that, to be honest. So, you know, and that's what it is. There's nuance to the situation. We have to see what happens. Yeah, Thiago. Yeah, he looks brilliant. To be fair, can't argue with that one. Talk Side of the Moon saying, how can I defend Howe? So, how can you defend Howe? We bought 330 million strikers on the bench. He knows they're not good enough. That's on Eddie. His in-game management is shocking. We were 6th in 3 weeks. I just think that last night the game plan worked again. This wasn't on not starting Walter Marder and Visser. Gordon scored and led the press really well and led the line really well. I don't think he would have done that just because he doesn't think they're good enough. I think he went that for the game plan that he thought would work. But yeah, I understand that. I understand the point. I just think that we'll see one of them start on Wednesday, and then we'll see the other one start on Saturday. So I don't think Golden will be up front again. It worked in that game, but but each game's different. So yeah, that's what it is. So 2-0. Yeah, there's some arguments going on there, which is fair enough. Claire saying, what if Mitchell saved us from an injury at Isak this season? He didn't. He didn't. Isak's injury this season was his own fault for deciding to not train and not play in pre-season, which is a joke. He was getting paid however much a week, and he decided not to do that. It's unbelievable. He's then broke his leg. That's not injury riddled. I think last season, Isak. I'll look at this because I always find this argument interesting about Alexander Isak's injury record, because last season I don't think he missed many games at all. So let me have a look at this one. Alexander Isak. Let's have a look. Injury record. So last season, 24-25. It's actually painful looking at this. 27 goals in 42 games. He missed, for Newcastle, he missed 2 games with a broken toe. He missed 1 game with a groin injury, another game with a groin injury, 1 game with a hamstring. 3 games with a broken toe. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he only missed 5 games last season, to be fair. Isak only missed 5 games last season. I get it. Barakas saying here, Paul Mitchell was right about recruitment. What Craig Hope said about Isak is another matter in speculation. Isak would have wanted out anyway. What Paul Mitchell said about recruitment was insane. When he said Newcastle have been bad at recruitment up to that point we'd signed Bruno Guimaraes, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, Sandro Tonali, Alexander Isak, Sven Botman. I understand this. I understand your point, Bragas. You want Eddie Howe out. I understand it, right? But let's not pretend Paul Mitchell was some absolute genius. He was hopeless at his job, and he, in the end, in my view, is what started the Isak saga. It still might have happened anyway. Isak still might have wanted to leave in the summer, but certainly did stop him. But certainly did push him out the door was the fact that a promise was made to him and it wasn't delivered on by Paul Mitchell. I think so. That's why I'm at with that. That's why I'm at with that one. To be fair, Phil Fast saying, is Ross Wilson another of Paul Mitchell? He's done nothing so far. Yeah, look, I feel like it's the summer. I'm going to judge Ross Wilson in the summer. He said specifically that he wants to. So he said specifically that he wants to make sure that we're looking away from the Premier League, so I'm going to give him some time. So yeah, that's fair enough. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, Trill saying he'd rather keep Mitchell than Howe. No, not wrong. Definitely wrong. Connor disagreeing with me. Mitchell's not useless. Dan's was tied because of Howe wanting control PF, and Howe can override Mitchell and get Isak signed. No, not necessarily. I feel like that was on the sporting director. He said no, and that was that. And then Newcastle desperately offered him a new contract last summer, So let's not pretend Mitchell was some genius. He was really poor at his job, to be honest. Claire saying that he was useless because he wasn't allowed to do his job because of Howe's need to control everything. Yeah, I mean, I think that we are in a position whereby Howe does like to have a lot of control of recruitment. Now, last summer, because of the fact that there was no sporting director, he had to do a lot of it. And I mean, one thing I don't think anyone can actually question about Eddie Howe is his work rate and commitment to the club. I mean, the guy, drove himself on the ground so much got pneumonia, and then he was on about last week. He was saying he doesn't really even sleep at all, and you can see the bags under his eyes. So he is someone who's totally committed to Newcastle making it better, and the fact he had to take on all those extra roles is more so the fault of people above him. And in my view, they need to get someone in. They didn't. So yeah, fair enough. And then Barakis, we signed hundreds of millions of dross, nail the club to the. So this again, interesting point. What I will say is from Kieran Maguire, who we spoke to at talkSPORT, is we said that because of the Isak sale, Newcastle can spend roughly before the next PSR deadline about £250 million. It'd be pretty fine. So because of the way it all works, like amortization, etc., etc., etc. So this is interesting. This is why what I'm saying is, honestly, I think no matter what happens, how stays, how goes, whatever, the summer will be a big overhaul. And if it isn't, then I'm concerned, to be fair. So yeah. I think that. But what I will say, totally agree. I think overspent on Johan Visser. Alanga is showing signs of getting better, but what we'll say is it's mainly defensive work that he's improving on. Like, yeah, covered Trippier last night. I thought he did it very well, but yeah. So that one's that one with Alanga. I think that's interesting. That's definitely an overpay. I really like Jacob Ramsey. I know some people don't, but I really like Jacob Ramsey. What I see is clearly a massively intelligent footballer who picks up great pockets of space, and we don't find him. It's up to us to find him. It's as simple as that. You find him in the positions, he'll do some stuff. He was brilliant against PSG last night. First half, didn't really get involved in the game. Second half, actually, he was probably one of our best players in the second half. Didn't lose the ball, used it effectively. So, but I will say that there has been this summer. It has been an overspend on numerous players, and I don't think anyone will disagree with that. That's fine. Self-entitlement is on both the how in and how outside. It's not one or the other. Yeah, I agree. I think that, as I said, it's whatever, isn't it? Like, it's as we can see, it's a really tricky, it's a really fiery debate, isn't it? And I'm trying not to. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm sitting on the fence to try and be nuanced about it. I don't think it's as straightforward as either, and there's things going on. Yeah, so that's where we are. People saying we have zero chance of beating City, which is fair enough. Yeah, we might do, but you got to go there with the belief that you can do. We are the holders of this competition, so we got to go and do something. Howe's wasted $250 million. So we're talking about this summer's transfer window. We have the seventh highest revenue in the Premier League. Stop trying to escape reality. Howe's wasted $250 million. We're talking about this summer. Sorry, I just want to make Barakis, if you're still watching, can you just clarify if that's from this season, which is absolutely fair enough. So that'd be good if you could let me know. How long would Howe last at Chelsea? Interesting question. Chelsea are a football club who are only bothered about making money and being in the Champions League. So as long as he got in the top four, top five or whatever, then he'd be there for quite a while. It's not the Chelsea of old. It's not Roman Abramovich's Chelsea anymore. Goody Gumdrop, welcome, by the way. This season, the Premier League has been terrible. Can't wait for the season to end. I think Eddie will fix the problems of the summer with an overhaul of the squad. # in Eddie we trust. Okay, so this is someone who's on the Eddie Howe camp. And yeah, this season has been terrible. As I've said, whatever happens, overhaul of the squad is needed. It's as simple as that. We don't overhaul the squad, then we'll be in problems. And if that is because Eddie's too loyal to these players and wants to keep them because they've done really well, then that is a problem. Because if you think about the great managers of our time, so Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Sir Alex Ferguson, these have all like regenerate their squad. They let the players go, but it's with like pain in the heart. But they make it clear how appreciated all these players were, and then they move them on and regenerate the squad. So we're at that point now where that needs to happen. It's as simple as that. Bracker said he's not how out. Apologies if I've said that. Apologies if I were making you out to be how out and you're not. No worries at all. So all good with that one. If Eddie isn't sacked at the summer, what does it say about owners' ambition? I think it indicates that they still believe he's the right man. I don't think it's anything about the ambition. I think it's just a case of they still think he's the right man. If they don't decide to sack him, they have the right people now. David Hopkinson is extremely good CEO. So yeah, like that's where I'm at with that one. Every game's come out worse than the second half. Why is this? Every game we come out worse than the second half. Why is this? I think in the second half against PSG we were worse. I think we were better in the second half. It's nuance, isn't it? It's how you want to view the game. If you want to view the game in that way, then you want to view the game in that way. But you can't tell me against PSG Newcastle were worse in the second half. Against Aston Villa we weren't worse in the second half either. So you can maybe argue that halves of football, but a lot of teams only play well in halves of football. There's not many teams who do play well for 90 minutes of entire football games. So that's where that one is. For me, anyway. But, yeah. Can't give Isak. Well, I think I'm not trying to use Isak as an excuse. I'm saying that ultimately when you build your game plan around someone and then it's ripped out of the team, it is going to change things. And it's not so much an excuse, it's just a reason. And that for things. I'm not blaming it entirely on Isak, and Newcastle have signed 2 strikers to replace him. It's just Walter is an entirely different striker to Alexander Isak, and Johan Visser's not as good as Alexander Isak, but Visser's kind of in as the Wilson replacement. Walter is the long-term Isak replacement, but it's going to take a what I'm trying to think. It's going to take something to adapt. It's as simple as that, It's as simple as that. Hugh Guy saying Alanga's doing better compared to Alanga. He's doing better. It's been a bad start for him, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. He's been poor, but he has been better in the last few games. There's no question. It seems like he's starting to learn what's required of him. But yeah, like that's what it is. Dark Side of the Moon saying Ramsey's been poor. Even the PSG give the ball away. I feel like, right, look, Ramsey, I understand people have not been totally enamoured with. No worries. I get it. You cannot tell me you watched the PSG game and thought he was poor. There is not a chance you can tell me he was poor against PSG. He was man of the match. He was sensational against PSG. He was excellent. On the ball, off the ball. He barely lost it. And most of the time he's passing it forwards as well, under intense pressure from the PSG midfielders. So, look, you want to make a judgment on Ramsey? No problem. You can do it. But you cannot watch that game and tell me he was poor. He wasn't. He wasn't poor at all. Goody going drop saying Sandro Tonali's been disappointing this season. Yes, he has been disappointing. He's still, one thing has been better in recent weeks, which is good to see. He's got the energy back after his illness or whatever he had. But yeah, in possession, not as good. I saw an interesting thing from Premier League Panel, which I don't know if people know, really, really good tactician on X or Twitter, as you want to call it. And he's basically saying that, to get the best up to our Newcastle, need to get a number 6 who's comfortable in possession and receiving ball under pressure, and then can get on the half term, and then play Tonali as one of the number 8s, which obviously we did initially. It didn't seem to work initially when we first signed him. That's probably because Bruno Guimaraes is better in that position as well. So that's what he's saying, and most of the things he says are spot on. So I think if that happened, and you got a midfield next season of, if it's still the midfield 3, and you had a midfield of a new number 6, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes playing as the more sort of advanced one, then that could work, rather than even sign a number 10, which is something I've sort of advocated for. So that's where I'm at with that one. Phil Fass saying, I've stuck with Elanga, however, I've come to the conclusion he's never going to do it here. And telling him, he's played half a season. He's not started many games. I understand he's not doing well, and I've even said he's at the moment potentially could be one of our worst ever signings, and that's based on the fact of we spent £55 million on him, which is a lot of money. It's a position that we've never signed a player in since Miguel Almiron in 2019, so right winger. It's a position that we desperately needed, and it looked like it was all sorted. It was all sorted. It looked like it was the perfect fit, and it hasn't worked out. But you can't just give up on him yet. There's players who've took a long time to adapt and get better. There are a lot of players who took a long time to adapt and get better, and ultimately Elanga is one that we're going to have to stick with and give time. No matter, again, if they decide that Howe's not the man, then no matter who the manager is, it's as simple as that. So yeah. So, Reland Realist, last time I was on here saying, well, Walter is an interesting one. I think that he has been almost played way too many minutes at the start of his career because of Asula and Vissa being injured, so he couldn't get rested. So, yeah, like that's where I'm at with that one. I think that he is a very good footballer. He's just maybe not suited to the way we play, and that's where it's going to have to become a balance. Or, you've got a £69 million striker who it doesn't work with, but that's where it is. No, you're not a weird guy, but I guess I understand that everyone's got their point of view. And look, what is clear from all of the comments from everyone here? Everyone is extremely passionate about being Newcastle fans. We all want the best for the club. We all want, and one thing you will say is that in the time Eddie Howe has been at the club, has been constant improvement. It's just this season, it isn't, and that's where it comes to the point where you get in this situation where has he taken us as far as he can, etc. And that decision is ultimately not up to Newcastle fans. It is up to those above him. If they trust him and are happy to give him, another year and another transfer window, then I will back him until the day that he leaves the club. But equally, I'm going to criticize. I'll back him in the sense of that they believe him in that way. So okay, I will back him. But I'm not going to sit here and not criticize him and say, yeah, everything's fine. It's all rosy, because it's not, and a lot of it's his fault. So yeah, that's where it is. So yeah, that's where we are with that one. So many comments, guys. It's really, really interesting question from Baracus, which I'm more than happy to address. Why did form improve after Dan Burn was injured? Yeah, Burn is a Newcastle legend. I don't think there's any question about that. I think he's a Newcastle legend. I think that he is trying to think. I just think that we're getting to the point where he's quite old. He's getting older, and he's limited on the ball anyway. He's always been a very, very good defender. He's limited on the ball anyway, and for me, Botman's the better player, and I think that's just a bit of that ruthlessness that I want to see. So I want to see Botman starting over Burn when they're both fit, and that's nothing against Dan Burn. That's just a recognition of, okay, Botman's the better footballer, and he needs to start the games. But Burn will still be an important player, and I'd more than happy to bring him on in games when you're holding on to a lead, because he's an excellent defender of the box, really, really good defender of the box, and even down the other end, in the other side of the box, he's good as well. But yeah, that's where it is. Like, that's where I'm at with Burn. For me, he needs to come out with the team when Botman's fit. Like, if Botman's fit, Burn doesn't play. That's all it is. So yeah. I'm being called the happy clapper. Yeah, well, fair enough. You can call me that if you want. No worries. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that first half and second halves we've been equally good and bad in certain ones. Okay, Chelsea. First half played really well in the first half. Second half didn't play well. So is that not the other way around? A lot of teams don't play well in full games. That's all it is. But you know what? You can call me a happy clapper if you want. That's fine. Christina, hello. How are you doing? Burn was man of the match. You know, Burn got man of the match against PSG, but nah. Ramsey was man of the match. Yeah, Colton on about, yeah, look, I agree. I think that if Newcastle are going to keep telling everyone that they want to be this team, 2030 team, one of the biggest clubs in the world, then you have to be ruthless with certain things. So let's see if that is the manager, or if that is more sort of, I guess, if that's more sort of the manager, or if it's something else, it's more the squad instead. So let's have a look. We will see. That's so good. Yeah, I think there's some argument over there, but no, I don't think anyone's delusional. By the way, for if you are how in or how out, I don't think you're delusional at all. That's not what I'm saying. I think everyone's got their. That's like, we're all just passionate Newcastle fans. That's all it is, and that's where we are with it. And I get it. It's fine. Like, it means a lot to us as supporters. And then look, ultimately, every single person wants to see us do well. And this season, we're not doing as well as we could do. I think there are underlying reasons for that, as well as decisions from Eddie Howe, and as well as certain players maybe not playing as well as possible. And it all just sort of comes together into what it is at this moment in time, and that's all it is. And that's really all it is. But yeah, I mean, loads of comments, people. But yeah, thank you very much for all the interaction. And if you are watching, remember to like and subscribe, please. NTTV as well. Sign up. I've noticed actually in the last sort of few, about maybe like weeks or so since I started it, I noticed a few subscribers to NUFC Talk, which is brilliant. And remember, if you want to be, you can sign up to be an NTTV member. It's £4.99. And if you were refunded, you can join that one as well. And as I said, if you're on Twitter, X, whatever, I'm there. I'm at JackCun96, so give me a follow. That'd be great. And I was trying to do more Newcastle stuff. So yeah, give me a follow. And if you haven't watched it already, head over to talkSPORT's Newcastle channel. Just type in talkSPORT Newcastle and you better see Inside the Toon, which is 50 minutes every week on Newcastle, by Newcastle fans, for Newcastle fans. Again, it'll be a lot of disagreement, agreement, but look, ultimately, that's where we are with. That's where I'm out with that. So please do watch it. Please do give it the support, because ultimately, it's the first time talkSPORT have ever done this, in the sense of actually giving content for Newcastle fans by Newcastle fans, rather than maybe having some pundits. Some pundits and what have you, I guess, trying to wind people up. So yeah, please do that. Indeed. Thank you, Claire, saying she watched Inside the Toon. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Claire. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy it. Please do give feedback to me. Or you can reach out to me directly or whatever. But yeah, And Wild Dead Wolf saying my painting's very interesting. It's not my painting. This is my flatmate's painting, but I quite like it. It's good, isn't it? It makes it look a bit better than my bedroom that I'm sometimes in. So yeah, but thank you very much for and Trills, thank you for watching as well. Trills saying it was a great show. Look, I know we disagreed with everything on there, but if you thought it was a great show, I really appreciate it. And Still Bad Dad as well saying good debate from everyone else. Yeah, I totally agree. It was a fiery episode. It was a fiery episode, and it was great. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. So Tony and the Flying Crumpets saying, "Why do talkSPORT's try good fans all they're not big club?" Look, that's why. So Tony, that's what I want to say. Like with this talkSPORT Inside the Toon thing, that's what we're trying to get away from, that sort of stuff. And ultimately, it has led to me being on air more and being able to contribute my opinion on Newcastle. And again, like, it's clear that not everyone's going to agree with me or disagree with me. But look, what I will say is that this show is from the point of Newcastle fans, so we do none of that, and there's none of that. Ultimately, when I'm on air, yeah, it's the same thing. So brilliant, brilliant point, Tony. But yeah, please check it out as well if you have not. I'd be really appreciated. Two Nuts saying great show. Thank you very much. I'm back on tomorrow. Actually, to be fair, it's a quick turnaround. We'll have a deadline day special where nothing will happen, but we'll have a deadline day special tomorrow, which is great. Kyleson, enjoy listening to you. Thank you very much. Trill saying we don't have to agree to have fun. Yep, very true. Aid saying great show. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, mate. Colton saying smash the lights. And Magpie Steak Bakes, what a guy. We're still in 4 comps with music to pay FC as we're having a poor season. Yet our revenue will likely be the best to date. Eddie Howe equals safe. Well, there we go. You know, we got to address that point as well, definitely. I think that we are still in 4 Cobs. Maybe by 2 weeks we won't be. But, you know, look, from this season, what I want now is, I think, some form of European football, which should be down to 8th, because it's going to be 5 Champions League places. If one of the English teams win the Champions League, it'll actually go down to 9th, like last season. So we'll have 9th. Yeah, so it'll be 9th. So look, as long as we get some European football and some more great nights in the Champions League, look, we've got Karabag away. That's a great trip. I can't go, unfortunately. I really wanted to. Can't go, unfortunately. Can't get it off work, is what it is. But really, really good. Really looking forward to that one. And let's see, next Chelsea or Barcelona in the last 16. And you'd love to get Barcelona again. Yes, we might lose, but it'd be great to take them on over 2 legs and give them a proper game. So that would be brilliant if we could do that. That's all I want from the rest of the season, genuinely. And then it's the decision from the club. That's all it is from that point. It really is the decision up to the club, what they decide. Do they think that ultimately it hasn't been enough? It hasn't been enough. It needs to be better. It needs to be more. Whatever it may be, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to be back tomorrow. Let me just check what time tomorrow I'm going to be back. And I hope to see. Well, it's great to have so many. Well, same names all the time. Really, really appreciate it. Seeing so many people who know now regularly coming on. And again, Magpie Steak Bakes, thank you very much, sir. That's really appreciated. Again, like, really, really great from you. Top stuff there. Let me have a look when I'm on tomorrow. Just as a quick reminder. 1 o'clock tomorrow, so 1 till 2:30 tomorrow. I'll be on, and I'll have Sky Sports on in the background, I guess, and we'll hope for maybe some signings, but I'm not expecting a lot. We might get back Target back on loan, which, let's be fair, when the takeover happened, it's probably not what we were thinking was going to happen 4.5 years down the line. But, well, 4 and a bit years down the line. But it is what it is. It's frustrating. They don't look like they're going to be signing any new players. But please join me for deadline day. Hopefully we'll have something special at top up. But if not, again, I mean, look, that flew by once more. That was a really good debate. And again, if anyone was... Well, I hope no one was offended or whatever, apart from the Liverpool fan who said he wanted his team to lose. I'm not having that. But everything else, look, it's all what's clear from everyone who's in the comments, and what's great about it from all of you is you're all just passionate Newcastle fans. You all want the best for your club. And at the moment, some of you don't think Eddie Howe's the best for the club. Other people think that Eddie Howe's the best thing since sliced bread. It is what it is. Like it's the nuance of the situation. It's the difference of the opinion. But we're all Newcastle fans. We all want the best. Let's see what happens. But tomorrow we'll do a deadline day special. We'll look ahead to Manchester City as well in the Carabao Cup. But thank you all for joining. Really, really appreciate it. Once again, great stuff from everyone in the comments, and have a lovely rest of your day. All out from me. How are the lads?